música variada, interesantes shows en vivo, tu mejor opción en internet, radiocristalUSL.com.
Hi, bienvenidos a mi show. Welcome to Catching Up with Claudia. Now, ojalá que se puedan quedar hasta el final para que puedan escuchar lo que va a compartir mi invitada o mi invitado. Así es que no se les olvide también de seguirnos por las redes sociales. Estamos en todas las plataformas. Hasta luego. Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? How are you? This is Claudia, la super comadre Claudia of RadioCrystalUSA.com, and we're here catching up again in 2025. And what a catch up we're going to have. This is the first show that we're recording for the year 2025, and this is show number 307. Yes, you heard right. We have been reaching out to our audience now 307 times. This is the 307th time today. And, you know, this is not exactly how I wanted to start off La Super Comadre for 2025. But you know what? It is what it is. And I am blessed to have this platform. I am blessed to be able to have this connection with my super comadre Liliana, to be able to inform, to share, to uplift others, including myself. Because sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. And with the way things are going right now, which we've been there before, we need to make sure that we cheerlead ourselves, that we lift ourselves up and each other. Because right now, I'm going to bring on a guest that's been here before, years ago. And she's a near and dear to my heart. We don't talk all the time, but I've been watching her continue to grow her practice. And this practice has a lot to do with what's going on right now in the news. So, but before we get there, catching up, La Super Comadre, as you know, I am going through menopause. And I will always share this because I want to normalize this. La menopausia, la perimenopausia, yo creo que así se dice en español. So this is my hot flash era. Hashtag hot flash era. You know, Taylor Swift has her eras. I got mine right now, and it's hot flashing all over the place. You know, menopausing while raising kids, wow, that has been something. And I also talked today to a near and dear future comadre that will be on in a couple of Tuesdays, 3 Tuesdays from now, because she and I share a lot in this hot flash era, in this menopausal moment that we're having right now in our life, because it is a moment. It's going to be a long moment, but it's a life. It's part of life. We all go through this. If you're a woman, you will go through menopause. Some people will feel it really hard. Some people may not. But you know what? I want to make sure that in this area that we have right here, this space that we have right here, that we normalize what menopause is, that it is a part of life, that, you know, if we need to get some supports when we feel like we're getting a little too hot, right? Or we're feeling like our world seems a little crazy. Well, not that it's crazy right now, but crazier than usual, that we reach out to the professionals to help us through this stage, this transition of life. Hot flash era, las menopausias in English and español, we will do our best. So that's another comadre coming down the road. She's going to be a new one. But before we get started, I did want to say, like, you know, all kidding aside, and I can, you know, earlier I said, you know, going through menopause, I'm always wanting, you know, to, take care of these hot flashes with something nice and cold, like ice cream, like just sticking my head in the fridge where the ice is. But, you know, lately, you know, we've been having the word ice come around us in our lives, in the news. And it's not the kind of ice that I am welcoming in my menopausal life. And I want to take this time to to share some resources, because right now I am inviting you, those of us that have the privilege, that have the ability, that are looking at our brothers and sisters that look like me, our brothers and sisters in Christ that look like me, that are being literally hunted, taken, after the person who is in office right now said that he was just going to get rid of the bad people, the bad guys, the ones with criminal records, the gangs, all that, you know. And as a matter of fact, if you know, if you've been watching me, you've been following me, oh, la super comadre con las elecciones. Yes, I'm back with that. And how did we end up to this point that not me, but there's a group of people that look like me, the Latinos, the Hispanics especially, are being targeted for these roundups? How did we get to this point where people have been dehumanized? For me, I can tell you that it probably began when this person who ran and won the first time came down the escalators to launch his campaign. And then at the bottom of the escalators, he launched his campaign by including Mexico sends their worst. And when I heard that, I thought there's no way that this person could ever win. Boy, was I wrong. But here we are again. And it's been many years since then. And the rhetoric that you're hearing and the words that you've been hearing and the way that my people, the way I am being portrayed, because I'm going to say I, because I am a daughter of immigrants, a granddaughter and a daughter of immigrants. Yes, they're citizens now. But those people that are out there being rounded up and taken, they're not all the bad guys. So we need to make sure that we pause. And if you have a heart, and if you believe that we are part of this human race, humankind, to see this as a humanitarian effort, and I'm inviting you today, if you don't want to, or that's not your thing, you can go ahead and swipe yourself off from my page or from this broadcast. But if you're here because you connect and you want to know what you can do, then stick around so we can share some resources, so you can help your neighbor, so you can make sure that they continue to prosper and work hard and do what they need to do to move their families forward, because that's what my mom did. And that's what her parents did. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I've been able to do all the good things that I've been able to do. Being a teacher, being a principal, doing that work was because of my mom, my grandparents, coming over here to this land to advance their family, to advance themselves, to work, to prosper. That's why I can do this, and that's why I'm here. And I'm proud to be a Mexican American, an American of Mexican descendencia mexicana. And as long as I can speak in these two languages, as long as I can wake up and have a breath in my lungs, I will do what I can. And if whatever I can do is be here and provide a space for others to uplift their work, to reach out someone that needs it, to reach out to a community, then I will do that. And one thing is, I will never forget where I've come from. I will never forget the work, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that was put in by my family, my parents, my grandparents, to be able to be here and to do the work that I've done. So with that, I do want to bring on an amazing woman who has been on this show before. She is already a super comadre, but she's back. And this is la super comadre, la abogada, Ruby L. Powers. Now, Ruby, comadre, if you can bring on Ruby, we're going to get to those resources later, but I want to bring you on because I am honored to have you here. You have been in the forefront. And I just wanted to bring you on because over the weekend, I got together with some friends because we were just like, what do we do? What can we do? I put it out on Facebook. Someone sent me the red cards from a link from the Immigration Legal Resource Center. And that's what all I could do. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Ruby. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, for having me. Yeah, this is, I mean, I wish it was under different circumstances, but you are a beacon in the community, and I'm glad to know you and be a friend, and thank you for having this opportunity to get this information out, because that's really what we're trying to do, is to let the community know what is real, what's not real, and you know, I really believe in the knowledge is power, and so I think you do too by providing all these resources.
Absolutely. And I want to just say that I can't not do anything else but do this. I wish I could do more. But, you know, with you in the picture, with me, with Liliana, with the friends that got together over the weekend, that's power. That is movement. That is something. If that's something I can control, if that's one little thing, and I'm glad that I always know that, you know, paths cross for a reason. And it was when we met, it was 2019, right? We calculated.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. And
right.
It was an amazing story that you shared, because I had no idea que hablabas español and all that, and your beautiful, rich heritage that we shared. I'm like, oh, what? Okay. But I loved how you came and you shared your story. At that time, you were running for office, and then, you know, and we've grown so much since then, and you've grown your practice. And I want you to come today. And I know I gave you like a bunch of questions because I gathered questions from friends. But yes, there's that fear. But let's empower ourselves so we can empower others, because we know how this game goes. We know what was done before. We know the fear. We know the chaos. We know the back and forth and this and that. So now we know, okay, there's people out there that already have playbooks, that already have resources. So with that, you know, just if you could just share a little bit about, you know, what can a citizen do? Well, you know, let's start with that, because that was a question that my friends are like, look, we're good, we're okay, but what can we do?
Yeah.
Share with us. Like,
yeah, if it's okay, I'd like to go back a second and just talk a little bit about like what's been happening, because I don't know if everyone understands, like,
you know, you're right. Let's start with that, because I'm going straight into it. Tell us about what's been happening from the executive orders to the campaign promises of removing people, deportation, detentions, etc. Let's start with that.
Okay. So Trump was president before, and he really focused a lot on focusing on immigrants. And, you know, he said the bad hombre or something. I don't know. He just had painted them in a bad light, and he did the Remain in Mexico, or the migrant protection protocols. He made the asylum law more difficult. He's the one that started getting rid of DACA back in when we were going through Harvey. Remember, September 2017, went all the way to Supreme Court and back down again. And the circuit probably going back to the Supreme Court. And so, you know, it's always been a battle for an immigration, unfortunately. And then, you know, Biden goes into office. He tries to reverse as much as he can in the immigration space. He creates all these different, more legal pathways with a whole bunch of paroles and ways for people. And we went through a lot of tragedies between what's going on in Ukraine and Afghanistan during those 4 years and things like that. And then, Trump wins, and that's when we knew that it was getting, it was going to get real. And then on a week ago, on January 20th, we the executive orders that went into place, and quickly there was a lot of reversal of quickly of what Biden had put into place. And there was also expansion of expedited removal, an affront on birthright citizenship that was putting even American citizens questioning how American were they, and were they putting their steps. TPS, or temporary protected status, and DACA individuals have been concerned because in the past he tried to get rid of DACA or try to get rid of or discontinue TPS. There was just so many harsh immigration policies, and in just the last week, it's been intense. Like I've been using lots of different analogies, like drinking from a fire hose, like trying to understand how everything interplays. I'm also saying it's like playing 5-dimensional chess, apparently from Star Trek or something like that, because I'm having to keep track of what really exists, what's proposed, when will maybe that thing go into effect, what'll probably get litigated, what's completely unconstitutional, and anyway, and just because the president says it doesn't mean that it's legal, and so which is such an interesting concept. But anyway, over the weekend, we heard. I'm on so many WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, listservs. I get texts. I talk to reporters. I'm on nonprofits in the immigration space, and what I heard was people getting picked up by ICE. And then when you look at the numbers, we're seeing reports 3,500 arrests happen by ICE in just the first week. We're also hearing that he reversed the safe areas of of like schools, places of worship, hospitals. I think even courtrooms were included in that in the past. That made people withdraw their kids from school. Flat out withdrawal, not like don't go for a day or two to figure out what's going on. And then things that we used to think were safe, like I heard stories about you visa victim of crimes application pending. With a deportation order, I heard some people were getting picked up. And so it's really been mind-boggling because things are happening so fast that it's before people were able to even lawyers are able to be there to find out what's going on to start litigating. So right now we're in this sort of chaotic moment where a lot of things are happening. And I think those who are watching this, like those who are watching this now and those who are paying attention, reading the news and listening to accounts by neighbors or friends or loved ones, people who go to school or church or whatever together, that's the ones that are noticing what's really happening. And so anyway, that's just sort of a little bit of the lay of the land. But there's also other things that are concerning, I think, in the future. The other thing is that they're talking about having like a registration process for those who don't have status. Just like when they made men from Muslim countries register after 9/11, that type of thing. And we're also, they got rid of CBP-1 at the border, which was a way for people to be able to come in, and then calling down troops at the border. So there's a lot of different things going on. And I know we want to be positive and we want to have like know your rights talk and resources, but I just want to give like an account because I think it's hard for even one person to really understand all the things that are going on.
That is a lot. Yeah. That is a lot. That is a lot. Just me hearing you and you being in that space, it's like you're just being pulled in different ways. Now, where do we start? What can we do? Because the stories, like you said, the schools, I have a question about what about schools? What about them coming to the schools? Our kids are afraid to go to school because they don't want to come home and not find their parents home. The churches now. So there's so much that has been released. So how can we help you or how can we help the other? What is it that's something that we can support?
Well, let's maybe go like step by step. With the schools, for example, there is Plyer v. Doe that is a Supreme Court case from, I believe it's the 80s, 82. And it basically says that children, regardless of status, are allowed to go to school, public school, K to 12. So we know that they can go to school. But the thing is that what is the reason for getting rid of this safe spaces? It's because you want to stoke fear in people's minds. You want to scare the parents, basically. Because for the most part, it's going to be the kids are probably American. Not always. But for the most part, they probably are. And you're really scaring the parents from dropping off and picking up and being a part of it and going in a group setting, which is common. You know, you get in the auditorium and you're learning, and you're going to a show for the kids to put on, or you're learning, I go to a PTA or PTO meeting. And so this is where eating at the heart of that community by stoking fear in those parents. On Thursday, I got an email from a client saying, should I send my kid to school? And it like really shook my conscience, because I was like, oh no, what is that? What people are really thinking? And you know, now it's we know that that's what people are thinking, but like on Thursday, that was the first time I had heard that. And anyway, so what I would say is that the schools are trying to do the best they can to follow the law, but then also create a sense of community. They get paid by attendance. They want the kids to go to school. They want the kids to learn and thrive. And I think the kids are going to do better in school. And so I told this client, I said, take a copy of the receipt that they have pending. I don't think this child who doesn't have a status that technically right now, I don't think they're a high priority. Really, I think they're going to be focusing on those with deportation orders, those with more serious crimes. And then they're probably going to keep going down the order, I guess. So that's, I think the schools are relatively safe, but if you are concerned about that, I would say maybe try to work with someone else to help drop off and pick up for a little while to figure out what's going on. But honestly, the child has the right to go to school, and it's just a matter of them trying to stoke fear. And the other thing is this whole, I want to go back one more concept.
Okay.
Biden, it's the whole definition of like criminal. Like Trump's interpretation of an immigrant criminal is like almost everybody, because if they overstayed or they have entered illegally, or even if they, regardless of whether they have a crime, he considers that a crime. And so when he was talking about focusing on detaining or rounding up or whatever, he has a broad definition of that. Under Biden, it's not like you literally had a crime.
Like a crime. Yeah. Like from what now it's being
not even
here.
Arrested, like you were convicted of it type of thing. Because the Lincoln-Riley Act is like, you could be arrested and you could be you could be mandatory detained. Like even for $100 shoplifting charge. And apparently it can be retroactive too. So that's probably going to be signed in shortly, but that's part of the conversation. So anyway,
that's something, because that's something new that I heard was about that Riley, the Riley Act is a net, like literally casting a wide net with nothing. Like there you
super
go.
Wide. Because we have the presumption that people are innocent until
proven guilty.
And so exactly. And so in these cases, they're saying, well, you just get arrested, we're gonna mandatory detain you, which never really ends that well, because most people get overwhelmed and just start signing that, okay, I'll get released. And then they regret it for years and years and years to come. So for schools, like it's tough, but I think that there's going to be more damage to the children if they don't go. And then they're picking up all this vicarious trauma and stress from the parents of all this uncertainty.
The secondary trauma. So what it sounds like is, for now, yes, it's a safe place. Yes, even though we're hearing that Homeland Security so-and-so never said they were not, but he said it was that they wouldn't, that it's open game. So you're saying that it's best for families to have a plan, like during this time, have a plan with those family members that are, or friends that are not at risk of being detained and deported, to take the kids. Is that what I'm hearing? Is to have some kind of plan?
I think if you feel like that the school might be a target at some point, but we really haven't seen the school be targeted. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a lower on the priority. That case, what happened in Chicago is there's 2 Secret Service agents, which are technically under DHS, but are not ICE. And that caused a whole bunch
of panic.
A lot of panic. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I truly don't think that they're a top priority. But I think that if you are concerned, I would find, make a plan, maybe share carpooling duties somehow, and have, everyone, regardless, if you have a mixed status home, you should have a plan, emergency plan, who would take care of whom, where are the documents, who would you call, and having funds to hire an attorney to help you get out of the situation as much as possible.
As much as
So,
possible. Okay.
yeah.
Now, if they need someone, are
Mhm.
you the person that they can call? Do you, you know, where, like, that's the next thing. Another question that came up was, what happens once a person is detained and taken, and what does that process look like? How should families respond? So it sounds like that helped a lot with making sure that there's, if you're in a mixed status home, that there's documents, you know, make sure you have that at hand, have call numbers ready of people that you can reach out to, and have those funds pooled and ready to use in case you need to get a lawyer involved or get someone like you. Would you be the person, because you're getting hit up left and right?
So my firm is taking cases, and we're full service, which means we help from employment, investment, family based, not complex relationship like midwife birth, naturalization, court, asylum, mandamus. We do all of that. But
Okay.
what I think is really important, and I'm board certified, and there's only about 200 board certified immigration attorneys in Texas. But what I would suggest is you find someone you can get in with and you trust and have a good reputation. I mean, we're taking cases, but I want to say, like, there's other options out there. Find someone that connects with you well, and make sure that you know, bottom line, at the very minimum, know what your rights are. Know what you're eligible for. Like today on the consults, it was, this is what you're eligible for right now, but it's going to take you a long time. And this is what you'd be eligible for if you got put in immigration court. And so, they walked away with knowing what their options are. I gave them advice about having their documents in order, having funds ready, having their kids know these types of things, or having someone in the family who can be an emergency contact. But yes, we're taking cases. We're there to help people through these times. And honestly, a lot of the attorneys are being inundated right now. So I think, making sure that they can respond and help you out. So just be patient with us right now, because there's a lot going on. But
is there a 1-800 number? Is there maybe someone, calls you or calls X, person, and they're just inundated? Will they send them to someone else? Is there like some type of 1-800 number someone could call?
Not officially. There is a hotline with the Houston Immigration Legal Services Collaborative. I'll put this in our chat for that to be announced somewhere. There's also, like, AILA is an American Immigration Lawyers Association. If you're looking for an immigration attorney, is another place that you can go to make sure that these people are a part of this organization of about 17,000 immigration attorneys in the country. But basically, you need to have had this consult, so you know what your options are. And, like, for me, like, if someone's had a consult with me in the last 15 years, we still have those documents, that information, those records. So if someone were to call me and say so-and-so is detained, I'd be like, okay, well, give me a little bit more information, have this consult. But I would already have a lot of information. I'd be able to, potentially move pretty quickly, as opposed to not having anything at all. And those are some things to consider. I want to go back to what you said about if someone were detained, what would you do? Or is that the detained? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, basically, there's multiple things that I would walk through. One of them is, let's mention this about the expedited removal is being expanded. What does that mean? Well, it used to be that if you had been here within 2 weeks, really recently, and that usually they found you near the border and you within 100 miles of the border, that they could just say, okay, here's a deportation order, expedited removal. Don't see a judge, just move quickly, boom. But the thing is, they're expanding it to if you've been here within the last 2 years. Well, there's a lot of people who've been here entered in the last 2 years. And so that's part of their plan, is to find a way to find those individuals, which many of them had applied for things, either maybe a parole or maybe asylum, and try to find ways to quickly invoke expedited removal. That was a memo that came out closer to like Thursday of last week in the enforcement. So there's a lot coming out right now. But that is one thing I'm a bit concerned about, because it's 100 miles within international borders, but a lot of people live within that. And I believe they even say international airports are still. So that means a lot of the country is within 100 miles of that. So those are individuals who've been here more recently. But those who, let's say they're just at the wrong place at the wrong time and ICE finds them. If they don't have proof that they've been here long enough, and they don't say that they want to fight for their right in court, their due diligence and their due process, then I'm hearing stories of people getting swiftly detained and deported. And so the general process would be to find an attorney, have your family, usually you get a call, then the attorney, the family calls the attorney tries to figure out what's going on. But even there's this ICE, it takes 3 days for that to even work. So there can be a time when you don't know where the people are. And
and how would you know? I mean, how would you know where to start? I guess, that question, like, let's say me, my partner goes, doesn't come home. Then I start, and the phone is only ringing. And then I start freaking out. Like, what's the first call I would do? The ICE, you said that there's an app, or that what you just said, the ICE detainer?
Yeah, let me put that link in here. It's the immigration detainee locator, the ICE online detainee locator. And so
are they given a chance to use their phone and say, hey, can I have my call while I'm getting rounded up? Are people given a chance to do that?
You're given like one, and actually I want to bring that up. Normally you're given like maybe one call when you're at the detention facility, to do that one call to like either the loved one who's supposed to create like this whole chain of communication, or maybe your attorney, but probably you should go to the loved one first, because they might not be able to get through to the attorney right away. And then then that person becomes sort of a proxy that communicates with us when we're doing detained work. And they need to know a lot. Like, so that's the other thing, is if we've never talked to the person who's detained, and if the proxy, that family member or friend, doesn't know, then we're talking to like a third party. And a lot of those things are really important. Then they have to hire us to go to the detention facility, or to try to talk to them. Sometimes, I mean, honestly, it's going to be a bit chaotic until it's not, because it seems like they're really quickly moving. And so they're trying to get these numbers up so that they can brag about it. And that's what I'm hearing, is that he's issued quotas of up to like 1,200 to 1,500 people a day that are supposed to be detained, because they're like truly trying to have something to brag about.
Right. And which is another thing about creating this, what we're seeing, out of a campaign promise.
Yeah.
Right. So but it's messing with people's livelihood, lives, mental status, traumas that are unnecessary. So that's a lot. I've been trying to take notes here.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be less people who are going to frequent businesses. There's going to be people who are going to stay home. I mean, it's almost worse than what was going on in Florida after that, the bill or the law from like a year ago, where people,
it was about a year ago,
for another state, but this one's like national, and like it affects the employees start disappearing. People at the schools, kids don't go to the school. They don't get the schools don't get the funding. People aren't going, parishioners at churches or whatever. And so I want to also mention something about, like, if you're needing to react quickly, if you're a Mexican citizen, they have the consul app Contigo. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I've heard about that. Can we put that in the chat? Okay, Contigo.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, it's pretty colored. Yeah, and they are. I'm in the program that helps with the Mexican consulate and with the public program, and they were announcing this to us last week. It's been getting out there, and so basically the gist of it is you download it, you put your information in there, and then you the idea is, if you were about to be detained, for example, it's like an emergency button that alerts relatives, potentially lawyers, the consulate officials, and so that it can also help you know where the nearest consulate is and some of your rights. And there is like a priority contact button in urgent situations. And so I still need to play around with it to see how it all works. But I do have it on my phone, and with planning on using it at some point, just to sort of like see how it works, so I can help let people know about that. But that's
absolutely, there it is. I see the link coming through, and we'll be and it's okay to share this. We should share this on our social media if anybody needs.
Yeah, they want people to know about it. That was part of the mission of getting us attorneys together and to get the word out about that. But like, can I just say, like, please, let's try not to be reactionary. Let's try to be as proactive as possible, because when people are just now having consults, when we're all sort of overwhelmed and inundated and trying to figure out everything, like it's a bit overwhelming. And it's just like, you know, we knew this was probably going to happen at some, not exactly to what level after he won. Yeah.
But it's not like, what can we do? And it sounds like making a plan, especially if you have a mixed status family, making sure you have all these numbers. I see the hotline that we're going to be sharing. If you're a Mexican national citizen, we have that app that, and you know, there's great resources here. But number one is remain steadfast, remain calm, try to get your game plan. Make those connections that you need to connect, so that if and when this does happen, that you already have a loved one that's going to fill in for you, that you can call from wherever you're taken. I think this is great information, because that's one of the questions too is, you know, what do we do? What can we share with the community? And that's what we were hearing is, you know, what I may not be able to do anything, but here's what we can do. Gather this information, the phone numbers, the tips, the strategy, so you can plan and be ready. Hopefully you don't have to, but still have that conversation with the lawyer. You know, go ahead and do that. And it does cost money. Pull those resources. You know, it's really easy for me to say, but just know that you gotta be ready, because that's one of the things is we knew this was coming. We knew that this person was going to do what they could to fulfill campaign promises. And we were going to be the scapegoat. I say we because it's very near and dear to me, because my parents and my grandparents were immigrants, and they didn't become citizens until later. My grandfather my mom's dad crossed over the river, went through the river, went over the bridge, got taken back many times. And then it wasn't until much later that he was able to become a citizen under Reagan. And that's always being brought up. Why don't they just give citizenship pathway like the way Reagan did? I go, well, that was a different administration. This is something different. This
Even though it was Republican, a lot of people don't remember that.
I know that was
amnesty, but you're not supposed to say amnesty, and the new word you're not supposed to say is like parole, apparently, because parole is like what he's trying to get rid of everywhere.
Right. So now another question was, you know, I'm hearing about the plan. What if someone, like, we have these cards that we were looking at, and we've made many copies, and my friends and I were taking these copies, and I already started giving them out. And it says information here, and you read them, and it talks about, you know, if you are at risk or you're being apprehended, or someone's coming at you and they're identifying themselves as this, and it has information here on what to say. And that's if you're out. But if you're out and about, this you can give them through your car window, or you give it through under your door, and it says, I do not wish to speak with you, I do not wish to speak with you, answer your questions, or sign or hand you any documents based on my Fifth Amendment rights under the United States Constitution. I do not give you permission to enter my home based on my Fourth Amendment rights under the United States Constitution, unless you have a warrant to enter, signed by a judge or magistrate with my name on it, and that you slide under my door. So that's if you're at home. I do not give you permission to search any of my belongings based on my Fourth Amendment rights. I choose to exercise my constitutional rights. And this says these cards are available to citizens and non-citizens. These cards are available to citizens and non-citizens alike, and it's in English and in Spanish. So you know, what if, you know, this is created so you could put it under your door, someone comes to your door. What then? What if I'm out washing my clothes at the washateria, right? Or I'm out shopping for groceries or at a restaurant and someone comes in and I get asked and I'm not, official. I don't have documents. I'm not a citizen. What then?
Well, I put a link here. You probably already have it. Like they have these in multiple languages, and we're even giving them out to clients and having it in our front lobby as well. It's in general, it's basically following what's on the card, that you don't want to provide unnecessary information. And actually, another really good resource, I mentioned this, is the ACLU. I put that link in there because it says, law enforcement asks about my immigration status, how to reduce risk to yourself. Stay calm, don't run, argue, resist, or obstruct the officer. Because see, if you do some of that, it can get aggravated and then they can try to charge you with something else. And if you believe your rights are being violated, and then keep your hands where police can see them, and don't lie about your status or provide false documents. I think it's good to know what these are, but I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to really come down to a lot of the different factors of what happens in the moment. And when people are afraid and concerned, I think it's going to be hard to stick to these. But I mean, we need to know them. We do need to. I think it's important to memorize them. So your rights are to remain silent. You don't have to discuss your immigration or citizenship status with police, immigration agents, or other officials. Anything you tell an officer but could be used later against you in immigration court. And if you're not a citizen and an immigration agent requests for your immigration papers, you must show them if you have them with you. Now, I will tell you, in the past, if a person had something pending, like an asylum or an I-130 or something, usually that was a pretty good thing to do, was to show it to the person. Or it was mostly at the law enforcement level, not like ICE necessarily. And then a lot of times they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. But another thing we sort of said, but haven't exactly said, is that a lot of the racial profiling that's going to be happening, and also language. I've had clients that don't have a status, but they're basically DACA, and they've been here forever. So the officer's talking to them in English, and they're like, oh, well, you might as well be American or something in their mind. And so then they don't really pursue it too much. And that's where the language can be a factor. But, staying calm, not trying to aggravate the issue. I think the other thing is just trying not to get yourself being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Where arrests could normally happen, crimes normally could happen. Even some lawyers are saying, if you don't have a driver's license, maybe you shouldn't drive, because
that's someone else that can drive and is licensed to do it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So it sounds like it's just having a good game plan while this, I guess, dies down, goes away. When is this going to end? What are we seeing down the road? Is this going to be like this until someone else gets elected in 4 years? Because how long or until people are okay with what's the game? Where are we going with this?
Okay. Well, I think that we need strong people, advocates in the community who speak up and say things, and who are letting people, speak the truth to power, and letting people know what's going on. I really think that once some of these stories start coming out, it's going to be similar to a family separation, which I was at the border a lot during that summer 2018 and subsequent in the fall, where it shocked the conscience. And when the new media was able to get through the attorneys who got the stories out that was happening, then Trump immediately reversed on that zero tolerance policy. And so I think it's a combination of people speaking up. We're already seeing protests happening, even there was in Dallas, I believe, this weekend, and standing up. Okay, let's also think about this. I think another positive thing to think about is that if the Democrats were to get the House, at least just a change in power in 2 years, and then they wouldn't have to be able to pass things so quickly. They'd start to see the fact that there's there's people are upset with what's going on. And then, so if we can get to that point and that happens, then we're getting closer But yeah, I mean, I think it might be just waiting out the 4 years, unfortunately, and there's going to be a lot of damage in that time. The other thing is, like, on the advocate side is, like, not only are we helping people one by one, but there's a lot of really great groups out there, like ACLU, there's MALDEF, a whole bunch of other ones, right? And AIC, and they're doing like mass litigation on what's going on, and they're trying to fight these orders or things that are going on. And like, even one that was today was about Trump trying to get rid of funding for, like, I think
freezing federal grants. Are we talking about that?
Exactly.
The latest,
right? Yeah.
So
I guess it's going to be a combination of those who feel more secure in their status to be able to be voices and be like a friend to those who are a more vulnerable situation, from even, giving them that support and whatever it may be to help them through these times and guidance. But then also voting, getting their word out. There's going to be other ways to reach out to their elected officials, and then knowing that supporting the cause and getting information out to people. Because I think the other thing that has happened since like around 2008 is just like the silos of, if you're blue, you see all this blue stuff, and if you're red, you see all this red stuff, and then you don't get outside. And I'll tell you, so many people are like, oh yeah, let's get rid of immigrants or something, until they come in with their longtime friend, their longtime neighbor, their longtime hired hand, and they're like, no, but this person, this is the one. They're not putting them in the same camp of all those other people who have crimes, right? And I'm like, no, yeah, that's what Trump's talking about. He's talking about anybody for the most part. And then that's when they start realizing, wait, those are people that I care about. Then that's when it starts making a difference. But it's easy to anonymize the concept if you don't really know who. You don't put a face to the situation.
When it's close to you, when it's right under your nose, when it's your neighbor, your friend, your kids, the play groups you get together with that you had no idea. Oh, I did not know. Now, it just seems a bit different this time, Ruby.
No, it does. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this in any way.
No. I know. I want to hold on. I want to keep holding faith in humanity, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, but we need to strategize. We need to. I think is that a word? We need to have strategies. And
it's a really good word. Yes.
Yeah. Because I don't want to. I want to stay steadfast in what I can do. Share this information. Continue sharing your information here. And you said you're going to be you're already going to be invited to speak at the consulate on their online radio to share more information, this information, right? But from what I'm hearing, to keep us also mentally sane and healthy as we are that voice, like you said, be that voice, be an ally, be an advocate, get involved, see what's going on with the ACLU, get involved with voting, everyone, that says, oh, well, Texas is a red state. We're not really a red state. We are a non-voting state because of the way we've been, areas have been created through gerrymandering. So certain groups continue to have power. So, and like you said, getting out of our silos. And I try really hard. I have always done my best to listen to all sides. It's hard. But I do need to know, okay, what are they saying? What are they thinking? I gotta be informed with all of it, even though it kind of sickens me to my stomach. But becoming part of the voting process, I know that many did not want to vote this time because of XYZ of this candidate, whatever, right? I get it, but I don't understand it, but I heard it. But getting involved with your elected officials, you said, getting, us to make sure that we have, folks in the Dems, in the Democratic side, so that we don't have so many things being passed, like fast passed, and then hurting. Because in the end, we're all going to hurt. Everyone is.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're a citizen or not.
I mean, between seeing all these individuals leaving our communities to just losing those beacons of in the fixtures in our community, but then also like labor losses, cost of price going up, just in general, the tariffs or whatever is going to happen there. And just, yeah, there's a lot of changes. Like, even though I feel like everything is focused on immigration, there's some other things out there, but even immigration, like the whole fight he was having with Colombia this weekend about taking the individuals, and if not, and then there'll be tariffs, and then they back down. But this, it's not good.
So many things we don't even know which one to hold on to, or pull, or follow, or support, because but it's all interconnected, all of it.
Yeah, and not to end another thing to mention, but the Texas legislature is going to be meeting, and they're probably going to, and Governor Abbott's going to probably try to contribute somehow to all of this, the shenanigans and everything. Okay. So we're going to have to watch that as well. And and yeah, so I think like we also need to take care of ourselves, because this is going to be an intense marathon. So like, as much as we need to watch the news and get diverse sources, we also need to make sure that we have some time to pause and reflect and remember who we are, and have some quiet time. And taking care of ourselves, especially if you're a passionate, like, empath, or you're a passionate advocate. And so those are some things to consider. Like, even as immigration attorneys, I think a lot of us feel like we aged about a decade in the last week, and it's only 1 weekend.
It's only it's only been 2 weeks, almost two, not even 1 week into this administration. It's only been a week old. But yeah. So, we're already towards the end, but this is not going to be the last time we're going to have you. I'd love to touch base with you in the next 4 years. But again, like you said, number one, take care of yourself. Take care of you, Ruby, because we're going to need you for this marathon. And reminding each other of the humanity behind what's happening, and being a voice, being an ally. Get involved in the election process. Even though we already had an election, doesn't mean it's over. That we still got to be involved. We still got to make sure that we do what we can, whether it's making a phone call to the elected officials that represent you, or, speaking up and speaking on someone's behalf that doesn't have the ability, or, or they're afraid, right? Speaking on their behalf, staying calm. I heard that, staying calm. And I just wanted to end with this. You do have a request out in Humble, Fiel and Cesar Espinosa. You probably know you're Cesar Espinosa. They're hosting a Know Your Rights out in Humble, Humble, Texas. And it's going to be coming up February 5th. They might be reaching out to you to see if there's some kind of connection, support you can give with their presentation. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, as you know, she's also out there, and she's going to have a Know Your Rights seminar tomorrow over at HCC Northline. So right here, if you're listening, if you're watching, this is another colega, a super compadre, Cesar Fiel, who has always been at the forefront with his organization. And y'all know each other, and y'all been fighting the good fight for many, many years. But he has information here. If you see ICE, what do you do? How do you respond? How can we spread that awareness to others as well? And then Super Comadre Liliana, if you could pull up U.S. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. She has that event coming up tomorrow. And that's tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 at HCC Northline here in Houston, Texas. So if you're in Houston, Texas, you can join. You can follow her here. She's going to have it live streamed as well. And it'll be in English and in Spanish. And then you got Ruby here, la super comadre abogada Ruby Powers, who has been here to help us, wrap our minds and our brains around this before our heart gets spit up and chewed out again. And I love how you said we got to take care of ourselves, because this is a marathon. We can, and listen to, I was going to ask you about sources of information, because yes, you get inundated with all of these, like, press and this and that on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. I try not to. I just try to watch. I don't know if I can say this, but I try to watch Lester Holt at night. I try to watch people that are on podcasts too, that are on both sides. But what do you recommend that could be a valid source of information that we could tune into?
Well, for me, I'm looking at the American Immigration Lawyers Association has every weekday, they do a summary of what's the national and local news. It helps distill what's going on the immigration space. And so I put a link there. But in that respect, I think find a few publications or reporters that you trust. I think even though I do TikTok, I think I've been hearing there's a lot of information out there. So find an attorney or two or resource that you trust, and maybe get a few sources, and then try not to get too inundated, because there's going to be a lot out there. So the American Immigration Lawyers Association and other reputable news sources. The American Immigration Council has a lot of information. IRLC has a lot of great the Immigration Resource Center, Legal Resource Center. In Houston, we have the Houston Immigration Legal Services Collaborative, which was that number I'd given the hotline earlier. And I would say they're a good place for us to sort of rally behind how we can volunteer and help out. But I think we're still seeing a lot of the different nonprofits and groups sort of like emerge as to how people can plug in. And that would be the other answer, like how to volunteer, be a resource, and help out. Even sometimes, like last week when I heard that these two teenage boys were being held with ORR, where they hold the unaccompanied children because their mom had passed away. Having someone saying I'll take them in if needed. That's an ask, but that's another way if people really want to do things, or finding nonprofits that you can rally behind to help out. And I'll just want to say that at my firm, we do speeches in English and Spanish. We can do other languages. Know your rights, to churches, to schools, to whoever wants us to, just let us know and we can.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for all of this wealth of knowledge and information. Like you said, knowledge is power. We got to keep ourselves calm as we go through this, steadfast. It's a marathon, and we got this. And we just got to keep fighting the fight. Like you said, have that faith, have that hope, but keep an eye on things and take care of ourselves, because that's what we need to do. All right, Ms. Abogada, gracias por todo. Thank you for being here. And follow, like, and share Ruby L. Powers. She is an immigration attorney with the Powers Law Group. Follow her. She, like you said, she has a wealth of information. She has taken the time out of a very busy schedule, because she's out there. You're literally wearing the cape of a super lawyer right now. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for stepping into this arena and staying in this arena, because when I met you, it was just getting started, and here we are. But we're gonna just keep going through and being here for those that need it.
Thank you for being such a positive source of information for the community, and for having me on. And I'll come back whenever you want me to. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll send people to you, because they're already like sending me messages like, we want her here, we want her there. So I will connect you, because that's what this is about. Connections, community, collaborations, and with kindness. Let's continue to hold on to that. Thank you so much, Ruby. I really appreciate for having you here on La Super Comadre Claudia. Catching up with Claudia. Adios.
Adios.
Gracias por haber estado aquí en el show Catching Up with Claudia. ¿Tan? ¿Ya terminamos? Ok, bye.
Radio Cristal USA es patrocinado por Supernova Furniture, la mueblería de los paquetes de las ofertas más famosas. BAMSA Global, servicio de inmigración con más de 40 años de experiencia. Doneraki Fuego y Mar, con su auténtica comida mexicana que bien se come en Doneraki. Fred Haas Toyota World, es el concesionario número 1 de Texas y siempre tiene el auto que estás buscando. América Cinemas, te ofrece las mejores películas dobladas y subtituladas al español. Ostionería Michoacán, donde comes a gusto y delicioso, y siempre hay una cerca de ti. Gracias por patrocinarnos.